Okay.
Surprised Teresa didn't tell me.
Now we're on your page. I've got us. Excellent. We're here.
Yay, now we're here.
Take two.
Take two. Most people don't know it's take two, but we do. Oh, Lord. Anytime people are slow coming on, I'm like, all right, what mistake did I make? I made a mistake somewhere.
They're just getting coffee, that's all.
I haven't had my coffee.
Oh, that's not a good
this
start.
morning, so I'm not allowed to eat or drink anything. So I'm like, I can't even have coffee.
That's okay. I've had two, so I've had enough for both of us.
Hopefully my husband's having some for me. Actually, I think he drank my cup. All right, that's better.
Okay.
Oh my. This is why we're hiring somebody to do this stuff.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work. Okay.
Okay, for those of you who are joining us for the first time this morning, I accidentally made us live on my personal page, not on this page. So, hey, hi. And we are happy to welcome back Julianne from Naturally Cats. She's over in the UK where it is noon. For those of us who are up a little earlier, and those of you on the West Coast will probably catch this later. So, Julianne owns Naturally Cats, and she joined us, I don't know, a month and a half ago or so to talk about the herb gardens for our kitties. And I was just telling her before we went live that we had a huge cat fight in the middle of the night earlier this week because Eggplant and Mittens, even though they are brother and sister, they're same litter, they hate each other, and they will go at it sometimes. And I just heard this horrible cat fight in the middle of the night, and it woke me up, and I said, there's going to be cat poop and cat pee. I just know it. So rather than try to go back to sleep, which wasn't going to happen, I decided I would get up and clean up. But then I also, after I finished that, I put out an herb mat for our kitties, and Eggplant loves valerian and catnip and a little bit of chamomile. So I put those out on her mat. She rolled around in them, and then peace was restored in our household. So I think Eggplant needs her little herb mat at least a few times a week so that I don't get woken up with nasty, horrible cat fights with excrement.
Yeah, a few dried herbs or cleaning up poop. I know which I'd prefer.
Yeah, I think I'll vacuum up herbs after she rolls around in them. Kitties. Anyway, so Julianne was nice enough to offer to come back and talk to us about senior cats. And we're going to talk about senior cat care in general, not necessarily just the herbs, but certainly herbs would play into it because they are medicinal. I'm actually going to make Julianne the host.
Here comes the tech bit.
There you go. So you're the host. That just means that you can do a screen share. She's got a few slides for us, and we're just going to chit chat about our old cats. And our three cats, they're only 2 weeks apart in age. I want to say they're seniors. I want to say they're like 11 now. So, they're getting up there. I mean, frankly, after my talk yesterday, we're going to call them middle-aged, but they are getting up there. And I don't know, Julianne, what do you consider to be a senior for a cat? Let's start there.
Yeah, do you know what? That's my first slide, Judy. So
there you go.
I've got a little graphic that I found that shows, kind of conventional stages. But I guess for me, senior is, when they start to change, when they start to slow down, and that can be really any age. Pickle, my elderly cat, she was very old for very long. So from about 12, she was, I would say, elderly. She lived to 17. But I really think it depends. It depends on each cat. So let me see if I can work the tech my side. So let me share my screen. Okay, let's try this one. And tell me what you can see.
It says, there you go, slide. Beautiful, perfect.
Got it? Can you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Brilliant. Okay, let me just... Cool. So this is from All About Cats Online. And this is really roughly, it shows the human equivalent. I've no idea how they work that out. But it says on here, senior, like you said, is 11 to 14. And then geriatric, which sounds terrible, but, is like super old, is 15 plus. But I mean, my auntie's cat lived to be 21. I think our cats are living longer. The more that we look into holistic care, we're doing more for them, we're offering more health options, we're looking more at diet. So I do think they're living longer, but realistically, yes, you can look at an age bracket and look and see which where your cat falls into it. But ultimately, it's down to the cat and their quality of life, their movement, their environment, their personality, their health, any medical conditions. Pickle was diabetic for nearly 10 years, and that took a toll on her body. It took us nearly 2 years to get her stable. So when you've got a chronic condition like that, that can take its toll, and obviously that can age the body as well.
Absolutely.
So, oh, hang on, there we go. So like you said, I will cover herbs. I've not got a huge amount of slides. This isn't death by PowerPoint, but what I wanted to talk about was, elderly cats in general. Then I've got a slide or two about basically Alzheimer's for cats. And then I will share a little about kind of complementary or holistic treatments. So for me, with Pickle, it was really gradual. It was really slow that we realized that she needed extra help. And I think with humans, it can be the same. You don't realize that you're slowing down or that you need to take a nap during the day. And I think with our cats, one of my top tips would be to get a notebook. And I know this sounds a bit, maybe a bit OCD. We've got books in our house for everything. We've got a book we write down where Leo's, what he's fed. We've got a book where we write down when he's puffed with his asthma inhaler. But actually, it's golden, because when something's not quite right, we can look back and see, oh, do you know what? He didn't eat that day, or we missed a puffer that day. So I would definitely advocate people get a notebook for their cat and, do regular health checks, which I know that you're a fan of. Make sure that you're, reviewing your cat 6-12 months from 10 years on, I would say. In fact, every year, but particularly as they're getting older, because what we found with Pickle was her mobility changed, and it was really, really subtle. So she used to be able to jump up on the bed, and then we realized after a few months, probably 6 months, she wasn't coming on the bed. And I realized that actually she couldn't get up there, she couldn't jump up there. So we had little steps going up to the side of the bed, and we eventually had them going up to the sofa, so we didn't want to limit where she could go, so we tried to support the change in her mobility. So it wasn't about stopping her, it was about enabling her.
Yes, absolutely. And it is interesting. I've seen studies where they just retrospectively looked at x-rays of cats, radiographs that were taken for something unrelated to looking for skeletal problems. But looking at these cats, a lot of them have significant arthritis by the time they're 10 years old. And cats are so good at hiding that, because they are predator, but they're also prey. And so they're really good at not telling us that they've got joint pain and that they're having a little more trouble with their mobility. So I think we do have to look at, like, we put in this cat condo and we've got this beautiful ledge all the way around the top with bridges and all kinds of things, and our cats have minimal interest. And I think it's because they're not as mobile as they used to be, and they're not as steady as they used to be. So they're like, yeah, it's a long way down, I'm not sure I want to do that. So I think I need a kitten.
Oh God, no. You're absolutely right. They hide pain phenomenally well. And, when it comes to mobility, they won't show you that there's a change. You have to look for it. You have to note it. And you have to see what could they do before? Where is that different? That's down to us to be aware of, because your cat's not going to come up to you and show you their leg and say, this hurts, mum. You've got to be cognizant of, do you know what, she's not coming on the bed as much, or he's not going in that window that he used to really love, because I'm sure he still loves it, but you've got to give him the support to get there. Yeah. So I'm not going to go through these point by point, but there is some really simple things to be aware of. So we all know that cats sleep. They sleep a lot. I, for one, am coming back as a cat in my next life because I love sleep and I do not get enough. So think about your elderly cat, and are they sleeping more? And do you know what? That's okay, because as my grandma used to say to me, the body heals when you're sleeping. So as long as they are eating well, and they are going to slow down because their body needs to heal more. When they're awake, when they're moving, when they're doing the normal cat stuff, it's taking more of a toll on their body. So don't panic if they sleep more. If you notice other changes that will coincide with that, then obviously get the cat checked out, which we'll talk about on the next slide. But as Judy mentioned, cats are predator and prey animals, so they will very slowly withdraw. So for example, they might not be as interested in play. They might not tolerate physical touch as much. They might actually show signs of aggression, and that might be due to pain. So as Judy mentioned, they hide it really well. So if you're stroking your cat, and normally they're very tolerant of it, if you notice one day that you're down around the bottom of the spine, perhaps around the hips, and they go to flinch or twinge, or you notice the ripples in the fur, or even they may turn around to snap at you, have a think about, do we need to get them checked out? When was the last time we had an MOT, for the cat? Do we need to do a vet check to make sure that there aren't signs of arthritis, or that we need to give the cat more support? So their behavior will also change in terms of they might not go out as much, and they might be less tolerant of other animals in the home. So as Judy mentioned, not all cats get along. In a multi-cat home, you're very lucky and should feel very honored if you've got a positive association multi-cat home, which means the cats will sleep together, they'll groom each other, and they'll basically be very, very happy and coexist. Most multi-cat homes have a neutral existence. So they will kind of tolerate each other. There's not a lot of fighting. They'll play. It's kind of okay. Or you could have a neutral, which means that a negative, which means that they don't get on and you've got issues and problems. And if that is the case, get help from a behaviorist and have the cats checked by the vet, but do some work to support them. But if you've got a neutral association home, and you notice that one of the cats is less tolerant of the dogs or your grandchildren or your children, again, just be mindful that if they're getting older, their tolerance is going to change. Their tolerance for noise, for stimulation, for things going on in their environment. They might withdraw a little more. And actually that's okay, because if you think about elderly people, they eat in small bursts. They have attention and interaction with people in small bursts, and then they need to rest their body, rest their mind. And it's exactly the same with elderly cats. Is there anything you want to say on this, Judy, before I move us on to the next slide?
Nope, I'd agree. And I would also add that this is a lot of the same things that we do see with senior dogs. We say all the time, cats are not small dogs, but a lot of this particular stuff is kind of across the board. It's what we see in senior people, and it is what we see in senior dogs and senior cats for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, for us with Leo, he's 3, so we haven't started to make notes of this yet. We are aware that he has a window that he jumps up to get out of his cat lap, so we've put some stairs there just to minimize the impact on jumping on his joints already. So when I mentioned about the notebook, have a think about maybe, categorizing these things and having it as behavior, sleep pattern, food, mobility, and give it a score out of 10 even, and then revisit it in 12 months time or 6 months time, so you can see the gradual progression. So I just wanted to talk about something called cognitive dysfunction syndrome. It does have a couple of different names, but this is the one that I've kind of aligned with. And it's basically, dementia or Alzheimer's in cats. I didn't realize that my dear baby girl Pickle had this. So we were struggling a lot trying to deal with her aging, trying to deal with her behavior. And as humans, the logical part of us, the brain likes to have a label. It likes to have something that we understand, that we can align to, that we can work with. So if I'd have had this diagnosis, I probably would have felt better in myself, because I'm a detailed person. I could have researched it and, got all involved, but we didn't. And actually dealing with her day to day, I'll be honest, was a struggle. So another top tip from me is, when you're dealing with an elderly cat, make sure you have time to yourself, whether that's a night away, whether that's an evening out with your partner, your friend, going to the cinema, theater, whatever it may be. I talk about something called a sparkle jar. It's where our joy is, where our energy is. And if you've got a depleted sparkle jar because you're dealing with this elderly cat day in, day out, it's hard. You can't necessarily cope with it. I remember, and I'm embarrassed to say, and I still have guilt around it, shouting at Pickle once because of what was going on and what had happened. And now I think back, it broke my heart. I was at my limit. So it's really important, if you're dealing with an elderly cat, it's not just about the cat. Of course, it's about the cat, but it's also about us humans, and making sure that you have help and you have support. And I really can't stress that enough. Time away from the home when they're in the care of someone that you trust is really, really crucial to enable you to cope with everything.
I can definitely agree with that. Our oldest cat was 21. She was never really a problem, but our three oldest dogs became very needy, up all night, keeping us up all night. One of us having to sleep downstairs with them, taking them out multiple times a night. And you're right. And the same thing, like, you get to the point where you just explode, right? Because you're like, you already went out 47 times tonight. And what else do you need? But they don't know what they need. That's the problem. Yeah. You definitely need to, it's the put on your own oxygen mask first. Definitely take care of yourself if you are caring for an animal with basically dementia or cognitive dysfunction.
It's just as trying as if you were dealing with a human. And you're living with it, right? So it's in your home and it's there all the time. My husband and I would joke, we'd go out to like the supermarket and we'd come home and we'd say, right, who's on nugget patrol? Because inevitably there'd be a nugget of poop somewhere around the house that we'd have to find, because it either got stuck on her or she just did it somewhere else. At one point we had a puppy training litter tray, which was like, I think it was 2 meters by 2 meters. It was bloody huge to try to get her in the tray. It was very, very shallow, but she still stood on the corner and weed over the edge, and it was heartbreaking, heartbreaking to see, but it frustrates you, so your own emotional state is really important. Like Judy said, put your own oxygen mask on, get out, have some fun, top up your sparkle jar. So in terms of the things that we talked about before, changes in behavior and, increased sleep, perhaps a change in appetite, what I've put here is extra changes that could really be an awareness that you need to get potentially an assessment of your cat. So it's not just missing the tray once in a while, the butt's hanging over the edge and they miss the corner or they miss the tray. It's actually forgetting where the litter tray is, and again, if your cat starts to wee in the corner of the front room, for example, they're not doing it to annoy you, to upset you, to get back at you. Trust me, cats don't work that way. They are trying to communicate something is going on. They're trying to tell you that they need help. So disorientation and confusion. We noticed that with Pickle, she would come up to us, look to get cuddles, and then also like almost turn around as to say, what am I doing here? It was a really bizarre reaction from her. We're mid cuddles and she was a very cuddly cat. And all of a sudden she would withdraw and look at me like, why are you stroking me right now? I should be asleep. It's very, very strange. You mentioned about nighttime with the dogs going out for wees. Of course, don't have that with cats, but she would howl, and I mean howl, at 3, 2 a.m., 4 a.m. And the neediness, the sadness, the depth of that tone of cry, first of all, would wake me up within a snap of a second. But secondly, it's like someone was literally pulling her leg off. It was a painful, deep, and it was heartbreaking. So you'd go down to see her and she'd just look at you as if saying, hi, Mum. She'd just be sat on the edge of the chair, So she had very altered sleeping and awake patterns. Her normal kind of routine changed a lot. And when she had those moments when she was yowling, literally just got up and comforted her. There wasn't much else to do. I mean, I didn't know about remedies and things at the time. I hadn't learned about it all then. But like Judy said, you could put herbs down, you could lead them to the herbs, you could, give them extra love and support, try some sort of calming remedy, around them, just see what's going on. So before I move on, is there anything else that you'd like to say on this slide, Judy?
Nope, I totally agree with you. And the changing grooming behaviors, we see that a lot. If you notice that your cat's coat is looking kind of clumpy, the reason their coat stays smooth and nice is because when they're grooming, they're moving those oils through the coat. And when they stop doing that, and it might just be a certain area of the body they're not grooming as well, because maybe they have arthritis and they can't bend around to get to their hindquarters, that maybe they're not able to, bring their shoulder forward to get their foot up over their ear. But you'll start to notice that you might see some flakes in the coat, and then you might see that it looks like it's in clumps. It's not matted, it's just clumpy. And it's just because it's the oils aren't spreading through. When I was in practice, we would see a lot of senior cats with clumpy coats. Grooming becomes more important for you helping them. And just remember that if they are arthritic, they may be painful, so they may not be quite as happy about being groomed. Use some nice soft brushes or some gloves just to move those oils through their coat for them. They need help.
Definitely. I was going to say, just be gentle, because like you said, that if they're not grooming it themselves, there's a reason for that. It might be that they're in pain. So just be gentle as you do it, so like you said, softly with the brush or the glove. Definitely. Okay. So how can you help? If you realize that, if you think that your cat's got Alzheimer's, dementia, or if you just notice that they are slowing down, that you think that they, need a bit of help and support, what can you do? There are so many things you can do, and some of them are really simple. Changes in the environment, for example, like I said, we put puppy steps up to our bed, we put them up to the sofa eventually. We actually found that when I talked before about Pickle not being able to tolerate as much stimulation, she would go underneath the blanket. We ended up putting a blanket on a chair, like a little cave for her. So she would still come and see us now and again, but actually she liked a dark space. So notice where your cat is starting to spend their time. Is it somewhere away from the activity in the home? Is it somewhere that is they can be a little withdrawn? Perhaps your cat was really cuddly and friendly, and now they are a little withdrawn. Have a think about using some form of, like Judy said, like a cat condo, or we've got like little igloos here in the UK, like cat beds in a little dome shape. Have a think about where your cat can have quiet time. It's really important for them to rest their body and also to recharge their mind. Think about when you need to go and see the vet, whether that's a conventional vet, holistic vet, whoever it is that you work with, and whatever modality that you believe in. But I find this is important for two reasons. So one, it gives you support. It gives you someone to talk to. It gives you someone to discuss your cat's health and to make a plan. But also it gives you information, it gives you assistance to support them. So their physical body, their mental well-being. The vet might suggest supplements or slight changes to diet and recommendations to support their perhaps change if they're in their digestion, if they're perhaps occasionally constipated. So, having that support and that go-to where you can get assistance is really, really important. Think about elevating food and drink stations. So never put the water next to the food bowl, because it's an innate reflex in cats that they won't drink from a water source next to their food. It goes back, centuries where, if there was a kill, they wouldn't drink a water source next to it because it could be infected by the bacteria from the decaying body. So have your food and water in separate spaces in the home, but bring them up. For Pickle, we put them on like 4 books, and actually she would eat a lot better. Now, to be honest, if you look online, you can get stations, particularly for dogs, but who cares? It's not dog specific. You can use it for your cats that are elevated bowls. So, bring them up, bring them higher, so the cat doesn't have to bend forward. Also, if your cat's dealing with a reflux issue or some form of vomiting, that also helps as they're eating to be able to have their body a little more straight. I've already mentioned about steps. Litter trays. So I'm not a fan of covered litter trays because cats, like, you know, they as Judy said, they're a predator and prey animals. So it's important for them to see what's going on when they're using the litter tray. It works for some people, you know, not for others. That's not a topic for today, but just have a think about your litter tray. Can they get in and out easily? So whether it's covered or otherwise, you know, how high is the step in, you know, and make sure you've got enough litter. So Leo, our dear rescue cat now, he is such a digger. He's in there for 20 minutes moving the litter around, you know, and elderly cats may not do that as much. You might find that they're in, they shimmy it about a little, or they get it done and they come out. It's not so much of an activity or a ritual for them. It's kind of functional, but make sure you've got enough litter in there and that they've got easy access to it. Try not to make too many changes in your home. I appreciate that's easier said than done. If you've got to move or you've got a new sofa, these things happen. Try to think about how you can support the cat with that. If you do have to move, shut them in a room with all their resources, keep them out of the kind of hubbub of what's going on. But generally day to day, we don't really move our furniture around very much. And actually that's a good thing because that will be quite reassuring for the cat so that they've got their scent on things. You might notice that your cat isn't scenting as much. And if that's the case, a way to reduce anxiety and sometimes aggression is to do scent work for them. So if you stroke the side of their face with a sock and put it on the edge of tables, obviously cat level, doorways, door frames, it helps the cat to register their own scent. So it helps them to be familiar in their own environment if they're not doing that themselves. Don't punish excess vocalization. I put that on there more for me because, like I said, I shouted at Pickle and it was a terrible thing to do. But in that moment, I needed to let off steam. But try not to punish them or to shout back. You know, go and shout at a pillow or whatever it is to release your own emotions. But just know that the cat is trying to share with you what's going on. And then reduce environmental stresses. You know, we've talked about if they need to retreat, give them the capacity to do so. You know, it's okay for them to have quiet time away from day-to-day things. And if they need that, that's okay. Judy, is there anything you'd like to say about in terms of like supplements or anything else like with the mental stimulation that's here that I haven't mentioned?
Sure. I did post a link in the comments for our pet caves, which is the hiding place that she was talking about. They're wool. Right. They're handmade wool, and they're great because it's a hiding place for the kitty cats, and it's very soft. Most cats like wool. It keeps them cool in the summer and warm in the winter. It's a great place for them to just kind of get in and snuggle and hide and get away from the hubbub of what's going on around them. As far as supplements to diet, there's a lot of things we can use for kitty cats that we also use in our dogs that are getting older, things like CoQ10, omega-3 oils. The biggest problem with cats is when you add something to their food, a lot of times they don't like it. Getting pills down your cat, don't even bother. Sometimes we can get these things in liquids, and sometimes you can hide them in something that the cat really likes. But if they won't take omega-3 oils, they might like fish. So my cats will eat a sardine. Great, that's a great source of omega-3s, and there's just tons of studies that show that omega-3 fatty acids are so good for joint health, brain health in particular. You could try things like MCT oil, which is 1 fraction of coconut oil. It's a liquid. Most cats like the taste, but that is really good fuel for the brain. As far as joint support, I love green lip mussel. I love deer antler velvet. My wellness formula has both of those. It's fine for cats. My cats actually love them. They think that it's a chewable treat. So they really like those. They'll take it as a treat. But we should be supporting them as far as joint support. You could, Cosequin is another good one, and that's a sprinkle capsule that you can open and put on the food. Most cats don't mind that one. So trying to find things to support the brain, support the joints, pretty important for these old guys, because that's where and kidney health, CoQ10 and omega-3s are very, very good. antioxidants and anti-inflammatories for the kidneys as well for these guys.
Excellent. Brilliant. I knew you'd be able to bring up the rear with the supplements. Thank you. That's absolutely fabulous. And just the last point before I move on to the next slide, there's only a couple left, about mental stimulation. You talked about brain function and brain health. Again, absolutely key. And mental stimulation is really important. They might not play as much, but that doesn't mean that they don't need that mental stimulation. It might mean that they play for less, for longer time. They can't jump as high. You might need to adapt having a different toy. I put here about puzzle feeders or licky mats. It really depends on the extent of their brain functions to what you can do, but engaging with them, having playtime is really important for you and for them to have that mental stimulation. Okay, so I've got here some remedies. So for those of you that may or may not know, I'm a holistic cat therapist. So I use self-selection. I work with cats, as Judy mentioned at the beginning, with herbs. I also use essential oils, hydrosols, and dried powders. So I believe that cats have the innate capacity to self-select whatever it is that they need to heal. So whether you've got an indoor cat or an outdoor cat, this works for both. And it's all about putting it down and letting the cat choose. So as Judy mentioned with, did you say aubergine? What was the cat's name?
Eggplant and mittens, but it's eggplant.
Yeah.
I know, isn't that ridiculous? Eggplant, her coat was purple, like really lavender when she was a little tiny kitten. It still is, but not like it was. And so Gwen, my daughter, said, that cat is purple. She's an eggplant. Well, it stuck.
Eggplant. So you mentioned that you put the herbs down and she went to it. You didn't put them in her food. You didn't put them on her. You let her choose. So I've put here my favorites really for elderly cats. So the barley grass and spirulina, they're such a boost to the immune system. They're really high nutrients. And if you get, the best quality powder that you can, put it on a little saucer and try it different ways. So Leo has this down once or twice a month. He's on daily steroids for his asthma, and sometimes he needs a boost. He does have access to outside, and I do see him eat the tips of the grass out there. But this is just an extra, just in case. So you can try it 3 ways. So get a plate, a tea plate or a saucer, put down the powder on the plate and leave it down and leave it down for 2 or 3 days. See if your cat will sniff it, lick it, sit near it. You could also mix it with a little bit of water. So again, either into a thick paste or a slightly runny paste. Every cat's different. It really depends what they want. Or you can use organic sunflower oil. This is not the oil you get in a supermarket. They are heavily processed. They are tainted. So a really good quality organic sunflower oil. Mix it with, again, the powder to make it either a thick or a thin paste. And basically leave them down. Let the cat choose. So they support brain function, creation of blood cells. They are fabulous. Barley grass and spirulina, absolutely brilliant. Then you've got hydrosols and essential oils. So I'm not going to get into essential oils because that's a huge topic, which I'm happy to come back and talk about. But the way that I use essential oils is, again, letting the cat choose. So I put 1 drop of an oil onto a piece of fabric, like a cut up cloth or a cut up t-shirt, and basically put it on the floor. And I let the cat do what they need to. They may sit near it. They may sit on it if they've got a particular area of concern. Not only will they work with the volatiles and the particles of the oil, they'll work with the energy of it as well. So those 4 that I've listed there, sandalwood, chamomile, geranium, and violet leaf, brilliant for elderly cats. They help with joints, they help with anxiety, they help with kind of balancing the whole body, mind, and spirit. So that's as far as I'm going to go into essential oils, but put 1 drop of 1 oil on a piece of fabric down on the floor and let the cat do what they need to do with it. So hydrosols, they're in between herbs and essential oils in terms of concentration. So hydrosols are very watered down almost. Some people call them floral waters. So you can put it on a saucer. You can put, a teaspoon, mix it with, say, 20 mils of water, dilute it even more. Cats are so sensitive. They don't need high concentration of things for it to work and support their body. But again, never add it to their own water. Make sure they've got a clean, water source that doesn't have anything added to it, but put a bit on a saucer and see if they like to ingest it or to lick at it. You might see a cat will lick the hydrosol or the diluted hydrosol and then lick a part of their body. It's really interesting how they work with them. So, take some time to see what your cat chooses. And then finally, on the left, I've put a list of herbs, which, to be honest, all of my herbs and all of the gardens, have an element where they will support elderly cats. But particularly these here on the left, there is a mixture. So the first few are really nurturing. So as cats get old, their body changes, their mind changes, and they have to deal with that. They have to deal being a predator or prey animal, that they can't move as quickly, that they are still very aware of threats, but know that they're actually in a position where they can't fight back as well. So the first few there are really nurturing, really emotionally supportive. And then those towards the bottom, the valerian to the arnica, help with physical pain. So discomfort, arthritic joints. If they're dealing with something like pancreatitis or inflammation in the body, it's going to help with that. Peppermint is really cooling. So again, with inflammation, it will help to reduce that in the body. But put them down, get a herb, get a blanket or a pillowcase, whatever you've got handy, even a towel, and put a good pinch of each herb in a corner, just 4 at a time. You don't want to overwhelm the cat, and see what they'll do with it. So they might lick it, they might rub on it, roll on it, they might even just sit with the herb. I know Judy mentioned that Eggplant went onto the herb garden, mixed it all up and got herbs everywhere. Whereas Leo is exact opposite. He will literally just sit near the herbs for sort of 10 minutes at a time. Yep. Anything on that before I go on to the last slide, Judy?
So somebody said SJW, that's St. John's wort?
It is. I apologize. It is.
Yeah. So Eggplant will roll in them, and then she will actually eat the catnip and the valerian. Great. So she plays with them in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, brilliant. So if they ingest it, don't panic. The cat is doing exactly what it needs, and they know what they need. So don't panic. I had a cat that I was working with that was shot by an air rifle, and the first time we put a herb garden down for her, we put down like a dessert spoon of valerian, rose, and comfrey, and she ate the valerian and comfrey within seconds. It was gone. So she obviously needed that pain relief internally. So don't worry if your cats ingest it. I'm not anti-dog, but it's different to dogs. Dogs will sometimes snarfle anything. Cats don't generally work that way. So trust that your cat knows what it needs to heal. Okay. And then I think that's the last one. Yeah. So being a holistic cat therapist, I have a very close relationship with my vet. I love my vet. I am very open about the fact that I use and I want a holistic approach to cat care for Leo. And we did this for Pickle as well. But for me, there are other treatments that are complementary, not alternative, that I don't recommend, anything in replacement of veterinary care. I always advise you work alongside your vet, whether they're holistic or allopathic. But as cats get older, when I talked about their energy changing, their physical body, their mental capacity, their emotional body changes as well. So some of the things here like Reiki and flower essences and crystals, they're all about energy. And as your cat ages and gets older, their energy will change. We talked about their tolerance for stimulation. They might get energy blockages. Now, I believe that energy blockages in the body can cause physical issues. So you might need to look at working with them to support a good flow of energy around the body. And again, kind of another live there. So I'm not going to go into that too much, but just one thing to mention before I wrap up and hand back to Judy, because I could talk about this topic all day long, and I'm aware it's very early for some of you, is massage. So I love that. The picture there is me offering Reiki to Pickle, and she would have it all day. She'd have it all day, every day if she could. She loved the energy work. But what I found out as she got older was actually when we'd be having cuddles, my intuition would guide me to do massage on her. And it was always towards the bottom half of her back, around her hips. Now, be led by your cat with this. There are books that you can teach yourself with, but massage helps to keep the blood flowing. It helps to move it around the body. And when cats are older, when they're sleeping more, they're more stagnant. not only does their energy, slow down, but the kind of movement of the body, the movement of the blood, their immune system, everything slows. So by doing massage, it helps to stimulate it all. Now, I'm not saying you're going to have a kitten rearing around your home after 10 minutes of massage, but it will help. And it also will give that pain relief. But be led by the cat. Don't go in with your hand and, try really hard to massage things. When you're stroking them and having your kind of connected quiet time, notice if you're drawn to just gently, maneuver around a point, around a muscle, because what you'll probably be drawn to are acupressure points, which will help to shift the energy around the body. So I hope that's been really helpful. If you are interested in learning more or you want to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Naturally Cats. And I've got a website, www.naturallycats.co.uk. There's also a Facebook discussion group. But really, I think my key takeaways for everyone is first, get your notebook, start to make notes and think about how you can start to monitor your cat as they age. Also think about your own health and well-being. That's really, really important to be able to find a way to cope with what's happening when you're dealing with an elderly cat. Be patient with yourself and tolerant with yourself, and really, work in conjunction with others. So whether that's somebody else has got an elderly cat that you can talk to, or whether it is your vet or medical practitioner, have some support, because as elderly cats, move through their years, their requirements do change, and we've got every capacity to help and support them with that. So I hope you found it useful. Let me see if I can find out how to give the control back to Judy. Right.
Should be three.
Where do I go to do that?
3 little dots in the upper right corner of the picture of me.
Oh, okay.
Hover over that. There should be 3 little dots. Anyway, so I just wanted to mention our summit next weekend, the 12th to the 14th. I believe it's sometime Saturday. Sally Morgan will be doing a Tellington T-Touch session, and you are to bring your animals, because it will be an interactive session where you are going to work on your animals. So you can bring a cat, you can bring a dog, you can bring a bird, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can't find the host thing. It really doesn't matter. It's just when we're done, you're the one who's going to have to click end.
I can't find it. My little 3 dots just says stop live streaming, and I don't want to do that until we finished.
Oh yeah, no, we don't want to do that yet. So anyway, and there's actually another summit going on the same weekend as ours, and it's I think it's a dog one, and it's connecting with your dogs. And I'm not even I'll have to have Gwen post that. I can't even come up with the name of the group holding it. But they're doing a lot of stuff with energy work and, kind of emotion stuff, that kind of thing. So, and that one may be a paid summit, but anyway, if you haven't signed up for our summit yet, the 12th through the 14th, please do so. It will not be live on Facebook. The only way you will see the summit, it is free, but the only way that you will see it is if you sign up for it, and then you will be sent the link for each of the sessions. There are 9 sessions over the course of the weekend. And if you miss a session, don't worry, because it says I'm the host now. Thank you.
I've just done it.
So if you miss a session, it will come to your inbox about a week later, and you will have all of them so that you can rewatch them whenever you want to. Okay, Julianne, thank you so much. You are a wealth of information. Our kitty cats, thank you. The kitty cats of the world, thank you. I thank you because it calms down the crazy screaming cats, and I'm going to go to the office and get some different herbs for them, see what else they want to play with. But it's great, and I think that yes, at some point we'll talk about essential oils, and we'll talk about hydrosols, and there's so many things that we can talk about for our pets, and things that can be really helpful for them instead of instantly jumping on medications that might have side effects and be harmful. So
completely agree. I think that there are lots of options, and it's not a one size fits all, so like you said, investigate, get your information, and get help, definitely.
Exactly.
Just before we go, I'm going to do a shameless plug, Judy. I am hosting a remembrance ceremony. So Pickle passed last month 3 years ago, and I wanted to support people that basically, you know, have lost a furry friend. So on the 22nd of November, I'm hosting a remembrance.
Let me stop my music because I missed
workshop.
half of that. So what is it you're hosting?
I'm hosting a remembrance workshop. So it's an opportunity for people to share pictures of their cats, to talk about how they loved them, how they affected their lives, and basically remember them. So it's an hour and a half. It's obviously like UK time. But if you're happy, I'll post the link so people can find out details,
Absolutely.
you know, to kind of come together and remember the cats that are no longer with us, but that really touched our hearts.
Absolutely. If I'm available, I'm going to do that for my little star kitty. She was the first kitty I ever owned, and she lived to 21, died of lung cancer.
21, that's amazing. You did well.
I know. I was sad, but actually she wasn't the first kitty I ever owned. But she was just a wonderful cat, really wonderful kitty. Okay, Now we can have music.
Yeah.
Yes, please post that link. That will be amazing. I think those kinds of things for people to talk about and remember animals. And, sometimes it brings up some emotions. Like you may be holding something in where you might have a little bit of guilt because you yelled at your cat. And this is a way to kind of get through that and realize how much they loved you and how much you love them.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I think I really was drawn to create a space where people could share and support each other. And like you said, shift some grief, shift some energy, and remember not only the good times and how we loved them, but actually how they affected us. Pickle was my inspiration, and I wouldn't have naturally cats if it wasn't for her. So, I wanted to take actual time to honor her, and that's the purpose of the workshops, to try to help people to be in that moment and, reconnect with them.
Absolutely.
I'm going to stop talking now because I can talk about cats all day long, and, you need to get a coffee.
Yeah, one of these days. Okay, everybody have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Bye-bye.